What? What are you talking about? Did you forget the discussion about Dad's inheritance? Everyone is gathered, and they're waiting for you. Although my sister said that on the phone, I didn't understand what she meant. Dad passed away 5 years ago, right? At that time, all the inheritance went to you, sis. What? Wait. When I said that, my sister showed a disturbed reaction, and then I heard Mom's yelling. Hey, what does that mean? I haven't heard about it. My name is Mary, a 26-year-old office worker. I currently live with my aunt. I've been living at my aunt's house since high school, but it's not because my parents passed away. In fact, my mother is still alive and well. By the way, my father passed away from an illness 5 years ago. The reason I don't live with my mother, and also don't know recent events, is that I wasn't treated well by my parents. I have a sister, Claire, 3 years older than me, but my parents loved her very much. That's because my sister, Claire, was a beauty at the level of a model. My parents, objectively speaking, were a handsome couple, and my father, as I mentioned earlier, had even worked as a model during his student days, being quite handsome. And my sister was like a hybrid, combining the best of both parents. My sister had even appeared in a drama as a baby. Thanks to my father's connections, my sister, who was a baby at the time, appeared in a drama broadcast nationwide. I was quite surprised to hear that. After that, she didn't join an agency, but from the time I was born, I think my sister received a lot of attention. Firstly, neighbors would always praise my sister, saying, "What a cute girl," whenever they passed by her. Even when I was with my sister, everyone would only praise her. They weren't ignoring me or treating me as ugly, but when I was with my sister, it seemed awkward to praise me, so they tended to avoid it. The neighbors' reactions were still okay and kind. But classmates and seniors at school were harsh.
Are you two really sisters? Ha ha.
Poor Claire, having an ugly sister. Haha.
You don't look anything like your sister. Ha ha. Were you adopted? Ha ha.
I was hurt by thoughtless words from mean girls and innocent boys. And the worst treatment I received was from my closest parents.
Claire is so beautiful. Why are you so ugly?
It's really a shame. It would have been better if you weren't born. Normally, parents wouldn't say such things to their own daughter. But my parents, due to having lived life as they pleased, were incredibly arrogant and lacked the kindness to consider other people's feelings. Claire is really beautiful.
You're our proud daughter. I can't wait to see how beautiful you'll become in the future. Let's approach various talent agencies while you're still young.
That's a good idea. You can become anything: model, actress, idol, anything. My parents always talked only about my sister. Today, let's go buy clothes. If you wear nice clothes, your sense will improve. Yay! Looking forward to new clothes. Mary, stay quiet at home. You don't have to answer the doorbell even if it rings. Don't turn on the TV because it's a waste of electricity. Pass the time by reading a book. My mother always went out with my sister. Of course, my sister being cute played a role, but more than that, I think my mother enjoyed the pleasure of being flattered by walking with my sister. I always read books at home as per my mother's instructions. However, my parents hardly bought me anything. So I read all the books at home. My sister didn't study, and she wasn't interested in novels or literature. She only read fashion magazines. So I had nothing else to read, and I read all the textbooks for every subject. Thanks to that, my grades at school were always top-notch. Still, my parents never praised me. In fact, I think they didn't value academic achievements because both my mother and father had led privileged lives. As I mentioned earlier, my dad earned money as a model since he was a high school student and continued working in sales at my grandfather's company after graduating from high school. Therefore, he demonstrated that one could succeed without going to college. Well, with my grandfather running the company, my father was just lucky. And my mother, being beautiful, started working at a girls' bar right after graduating from high school. She became popular with customers, and she earned quite a bit. My parents also met at the bar where my mother worked. Both being beautiful and my father being wealthy, they quickly became close, leading to their marriage. They got married because my mother became pregnant while they were dating, so they were both very young. As a result, when my sister entered kindergarten or elementary school, they were around 30 years old, so they were quite noticeable among the parents. For these reasons, I was often used as a comparison. In the midst of my mother and other competitive moms, there were those who tried to attack my mother by mentioning me, saying, "Is she really your husband's child?" Haha. Because of that, I was scolded by my mother. "Because of you, I'm being unjustly suspected. You're really a bothersome existence." Having only Claire as a daughter would have been enough. On days like classroom visitation, my mother would get emotional and blame me. Such a mother was very scary to me. And my father, taking in those voices from other parents, asked my mother, "Are you having an affair?" and such. That became the trigger for the deterioration of the relationship between my mother and father, and they started fighting frequently at home. Seeing such parents, my sister blamed me, saying, "The family is falling apart because of you, haha." My sister, being overly praised by our parents, believes that her entire life should go exactly as she wishes. Therefore, she treats me as if I'm beneath her, like trash. Spare me. I don't even want to breathe the same air, so go back to your room. Until I finish watching TV, you absolutely can't come to the living room. For you, vegetables are enough, haha. I'll take all the fried chicken. My sister enjoys making me submit and finds pleasure in seeing me troubled. So, I had a really tough time as a child. I was in a situation where I had almost no allies. When there was no hope in sight for the future, my maternal aunt came to my rescue. My aunt values family connections. Although my mother was a somewhat selfish sister, my aunt still kept in touch regularly. And when she inquired about the children, she always checked not only about my sister but also about me with my mother. My mother, seemingly annoyed by my aunt's kindness, would say, "If you're so concerned about Mary, take care of her during long vacations, leaving the care of me during summer and winter vacations to my aunt." Even though my aunt was single, she gladly accepted me, and the time I spent with her during the long holidays was incredibly healing for me. You are really obedient. Being able to study is also a talent. You are a wonderful child because you can make an effort. Even if the current environment is bad, don't rot away. There is definitely a place where you can shine. My aunt repeatedly spoke positive words to me. Thanks to her, even when I faced unfair treatment at home or school, I could overcome it without giving up. Time passed, and I turned 15. As a third-year junior high school student aiming for my top choice high school, amidst that, an event occurred. My father and mother got divorced. The cause was my mother's infidelity due to years of misunderstandings. Because of her beauty, my mother had a relationship with another man. However, my father said, "Thanks for giving me the opportunity to divorce," haha, completely cooling off his relationship with my mother, and then he claimed alimony and divorced her. Since my mother worked at a bar and had an affair with a regular customer there, she wasn't financially troubled, and she easily separated after paying the alimony. My sister, who was a third-year high school student, chose to live with my father because she loved him so much. As for me, both my father and mother refused to take me in. As a student who has the entrance exam at that time, it was the most stressful thing I had experienced. I would be a burden no matter where I was taken, and I couldn't study in this situation. When I was struggling with these thoughts, my aunt volunteered to take me in. My parents quickly agreed to that, and I became my aunt's adopted child. Although my parents were pleased to get rid of the trouble, it was the most grateful outcome for me. Living with my only ally, my aunt, was the greatest happiness for me. In reality, after starting to live with my aunt, I could concentrate on my studies, and I managed to pass the top high school in the prefecture. Congratulations. Mary, you're amazing. She rejoiced with me. Since I had already lived with my aunt during long vacations, we quickly built a relationship like a real parent and child. Well, considering how terrible my relationship was with my actual parents, it was even more wonderful. My aunt had never married. That's because she knew early on that she couldn't have children, and from that time on, she gave up on marriage. Even though many people lived together as a couple for a long time, I wondered why she didn't seek a partner. I asked her about it once. I thought I couldn't look for a partner until I had a firm confidence in living independently. But it took quite a long time to gain that confidence. Now, I've risen to the position of an executive in a major company, but thinking about dating and getting married at this point, I find it a bit challenging. I thought it was a bit of a waste, but it was her decision in her life, so it wasn't something I should interfere with. My aunt paid my high school tuition and even supported me financially through college. I wanted to repay my aunt, so I studied hard at university. I aimed for good grades and decided to join a major company. However, amidst all this, I received surprising news. It was about my father's death. He suddenly collapsed, and by the time they found him, it was already too late. He became a person who wouldn't return. I reunited with my sister at my father's funeral, but during the funeral, my sister shed many tears and seemed genuinely sad. Since my sister had been greatly cherished and raised by my father, it was natural for her to care about him and cry. If my aunt were to pass away, I would probably also shed big tears. But for me, my father was just one of the people who tormented me, so my eyes were completely dry. And after the funeral, I witnessed a surprising scene. It happened after the relatives and attendees at my father's funeral had left. My sister, who had abruptly stopped crying, approached me. "You know, it seems like you're legally entitled to a share of the inheritance, but could you give up on that?" "Huh? So, I don't want you to receive Dad's inheritance." I was surprised by my sister's sudden change in attitude from her grieving state a while ago. I realized that her tears earlier were just a performance, probably done to be seen as a good daughter by the attendees. "Hey, say you'll give it up quickly." My sister said this to me in an irritated tone. "Okay, I'll give it up. I don't need that person's inheritance." When I said that, my sister prepared documents, saying, "Great. I'll proceed with the paperwork right away," with a full smile. I thought she was quite cunning in these matters, and her obsession with things that benefited her was no joke. I was already a third-year university student, and I needed to start job hunting next year. I didn't want any more complicated ties with my sister over our father's affairs. Yay! With this, all the inheritance is mine. Haha. While she was celebrating, I went home to where my aunt lived, thinking I wouldn't have to deal with my sister anymore. Then, 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. I, who was a university student at the time, am now working diligently as a professional. I joined the major company I had aspired to work for and have been enjoying fulfilling days with meaningful work. In the midst of this, I received a call from an unknown number. Although I was at home on my day off, I initially ignored it. However, since it kept ringing persistently, I reluctantly answered it. Perhaps it was a friend who changed their number. To my surprise, the caller from that number was an unexpected person. "Hello. Where are you?" Huh? The voice on the phone was my sister's. It was an unpleasant voice that stuck to my ears. It might be because I didn't like my sister that I felt that way. Where? I'm at home. What? What are you doing? Why aren't you coming over here? Huh, what are you talking about? It's about discussing the inheritance from Dad. Everyone is here, and they're waiting for you. While my sister said that on the phone, I didn't understand what she was talking about. But then it hit me. I heard from relatives that my sister had gone to my mother's place when my father passed away. My mother had remarried her then affair partner, so she was probably referring to that person. You're the worst daughter, not even coming to the funeral. How did you develop such a terrible personality? Poor Mom. My sister said that and let out a dirty laugh. I see, my sister was probably trying to denigrate me in front of the relatives present. Since I could not care less about what the relatives thought of me, I calmly responded. Dad passed away 5 years ago, right? At that time, you inherited everything, didn't you? Wait. As I said this, my sister showed signs of agitation, and then I heard my mother's shouting. Hey, what's this about? I didn't hear anything. It seemed they were using speaker mode. You. Not only did you inherit almost nothing from your father, but you also came rolling into this house, burdened with debt, claiming it was tough. You say you inherited the full amount? You deceived me and my husband, didn't you? Wait, Mom. Shut up. Share the inheritance you supposedly inherited with me. Also, return all the branded items I bought for you. What? I could hear my mother's angry voice echoing, followed by my sister's feeble voice. It seemed like an intense scene was unfolding. They were probably falling into a massive predicament on their own, even without me doing anything. I quietly hung up the phone and blocked the incoming number. When I told my aunt about the call, she was exasperated. Like mother, like daughter. I had been concerned about my sister, but ever since I found out she was tormenting you, I no longer consider her family. For me, that person is just someone who gave birth to me. My real mother is you, Aunt. I'm going to repay you more and more from now on, so look forward to it. Oh, that's delightful. First, let's go on a trip together soon. I found a great hotel. Well, a trip with my daughter sounds like fun. After that, my sister apparently severed ties with my mother over a disagreement. My sister fell victim to marriage fraud, accumulating a significant amount of debt. Also, my mother discovered that her late husband's inheritance included debt, so in the end, both mother and daughter ended up with enormous debts. Truly poetic justice. I am happily spending my days with my aunt as a real parent and child. We already went on a trip, so maybe next time, I'll take a long vacation and go on an overseas trip. How was this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Well then, see you in the next video.